Let me just give you one example of one that we just recently did. We had a gentleman that had a home site, and he didn't want to go through the building process, and he was looking for a house up to $700,000. His home site was valued at $225,000, and there were a lot of other home sites for sale in this community that hadn't been selling. So what we did is he said, okay, there's two different communities that I'm interested in. One was called Aldea, the other was called Las Campanas, and we started searching properties that were for sale up to $600,000 to $700,000. We found 56 properties, and we sent them the inquiries that we'd be interested in buying your property if you bought ours, and we got 12 yeses. Out of the 12 yeses, we went and looked at those 12 houses, and he narrowed it down to 3, and he got his first choice, which was a $700,000 house in Las Campanas. Well, how did it work on the other side? The people who had the $700,000 home, that was a home that was not as large as that they wanted. It was a home that was already built. They wanted to see if they were going to like the community, and they did, and they wanted to build a custom home, and so they are now building their custom dream home on his lot. So that's just one example of how this can work. Here's another example of another one that we just did. We had a couple that were in the building business. They sell doors and windows mostly to builders. Well, with the construction business way slowed down right now, their business was very challenged. And to compromise all of that, they just built 2 years before that a much bigger offices and so forth. So under that scenario, these people were in a $1.2 million home, and they were looking to get into anything that would be a lot less just to be able to survive the economy. And they were looking for a home around $600,000. When we listed the property, we said, would you be interested in potentially doing a trade, and explained how that could work, and they were open to that. So what happened is the first couple that came through the door when we listed the property, 3 days after we listed the property, was a couple who had a $600,000 home in a community where the properties hadn't been selling in their community. And he was a doctor who wanted to upsize. His business was thriving, and he wanted to get into a bigger house, and he loved their house at $1.2 million. And so it was a perfect match. Both parties accomplished what they needed to do, and when we closed the transaction, everything happened at the same time. Moving trucks were going back and forth between the two properties on the same day, and both parties got exactly what they were looking for. Here's another example of one that we just did. In fact, we're in the middle of doing right now that I think is a great story. We had a house listed for $2.5 million that was a great house on a not so great lot. Also, the house had a lot of dark stone in the house, and so it kind of had a real heavier kind of masculine castle kind of feeling inside the home. A lot of times the guy would like it, but the wife didn't. House had been on the market for 3 years. And finally, a couple came in that loved the house, and they said, we would have to sell our house first before we can buy that. I said, show me your house. I go to their house, and they have a $1.5 million house that happened to win the Prada Homes Grand Prize that year in 2003, and was a beautiful home which would have a much broader market of buyers. I contacted the seller of the $2.5 million house and said, we've got a buyer for your house, but you need to take this house in on trade to be able to get your house sold. And the difference under that scenario is you had $1.5 million or a $2.5 million. I said, we will just take a commission on the difference for $1 million, and I'll pick up the commission once we sell your house, so that it's going to cost you exactly the same. His response was, all you got to do is tell me one thing, that you can sell this other house faster than you can sell my house. I said, we can sell it to a lot more buyers. There's a lot more buyers in the $1.5 million range than there is $2.5 million, but just the house itself, I think, was much more conducive for a lot more buyers. Well, this is the first house that I've ever had for sale now, the $1.5 million, that the owner has never seen it. He did the transaction, says, I don't even need to see the house, let's do it. Well, we just put that house under contract, and he is very excited now to have sold his house and got the other house, and so he had to two-step his way out. And what happened in the process is he got to put $1 million in his pocket from the first sale, and now he's selling the balance, and we're picking up our commission on the backside. So there's lots of different ways that people can accomplish what they're trying to do. Sometimes it's getting a lower payment, sometimes it's pulling the equity out of the property, sometimes it's just getting a property that's going to be more saleable, and this is an example of that.